Hey, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. And on today's video we have a good one for you because this is the second update to a wildly popular shoe from Mizuno that at least last year was something we hadn't seen before. That was the Neo Vista. This is the Neo Vista 2. And I gotta tell you that even though these shoes kind of look very similar on the surface, they are actually quite different. So let's get into it. Before we get started, I do just want to say thanks to Mizuno. They were good enough to send me this pair of the Neo Vista 2 for the purpose of review. However, they haven't told me what to say. They don't have any editorial privileges, and all the thoughts and opinions are my own. With that said, you're going to be able to pick up a pair of the new Mizuno Neo Vista 2 for $200. And of course, I'll place a link in the show notes below in case you want to pick up a pair for yourself. Now, before we get going with this whole review, digging into the shoe and the details, there is something that I do want to address right off the bat, and that is sizing. And because a lot of people don't watch videos all the way through, I think this is a really good piece of information to address right at the beginning, because the Mizuno Neo Vista 2 does run a little big. Now, in most shoes, I am generally between a US size 12.5 to 13. However, I was lucky enough to get a sample of the Neo Vista 2 in the mystery shoe colorway, and this was in a US men's size 13, and it was just way too big. And I mean way too big for me to even run in. Now, I have seen some other people say that Mizuno may have corrected their sizing between the pre-production models and the production models, and this right here is a production model, but I still dropped down a whole size to a size 12. So I want you to keep that in the back of your mind. I've seen some other people are dropping down half a size. I had to drop down a whole size. The shoe fits absolutely great when it's the right size. I just think the right size is going to be a half to a full size smaller than you may be used to. So take that for what it's worth. Now, Mizuno calls the Neo Vista 2 the most versatile shoe in the world. And you know what? They might not be wrong. The Mizuno Neo Vista 2 is a very soft, a very protective long run, daily trainer, easy run, recovery run, and a shoe that you are able to pick up the pace in. I think for a lot of people, the Neo Vista 2 is also going to be a good race shoe. For me, it probably wouldn't be the race shoe that I would choose just because Mizuno has other great options that are really fast, like the Wave Rebellion Pro 3. But the Wave Rebellion Pro 3 is not nearly as versatile, and by that I mean it only works running fast. The Neo Vista 2 covers a much more wide range of paces. So with that, the Neo Vista 2 has 45 in the heel, 37 in the forefoot for an 8mm drop. That hasn't changed over last year. Mizuno is also utilizing a 100% knit upper. It's a booty fit, so you do kind of have to wrestle your foot into the shoe, which is no surprising on any knit upper shoe. There is a nice heel pull on the back that's going to assist with that, and this year Mizuno has added a tongue pull right on the front. Now, this tongue pull does have some rubber coverage right on it, so when you tie those laces right across the front, it's going to be protecting your foot. Last year in the original Neo Vista, you can see we didn't have that tongue pull on the front. That same piece of rubber was still there just to protect your foot when you tie the laces. Another big change that isn't going to make any difference to you unless you're looking down at your feet is that Mizuno has changed the running bird location from the lateral side to the medial side on the Neo Vista 2. Again, just aesthetics. But while we're talking about aesthetics, I just want to say that I am really enjoying how this shoe looks. I love this fresh white colorway with the pops of purple. The running bird is kind of in a sparkly purple, and then we have more sparkly purple right here on the midsole. It just looks really nice. Now, that 100% knit upper has also changed in the Neo Vista 2 as opposed to the original Neo Vista. It's just a little bit firmer, maybe a little bit thicker, but of a little more substance than in the original. The upper of the Neo Vista 2 just gives a lot more support, and it really is a lot more support. Now, if I hold this up, you know what a knit upper is, but there is no padding around this heel collar. You put your foot in and the shoe just kind of hugs your foot nicely. Really no issues there. The heel counter on the Neo Vista 2 is semi-rigid. It's the same as the original Neo Vista. This year on the Neo Vista 2, you can see here, well, you can't see on that side, but on this side you can see this purple kind of shark's fin look right here. And Mizuno has added another one here on the medial side, but it's white, so it's difficult to see on this colorway. But that is just going to add a little more support for your heel. And although I didn't experience it in the original Neo Vista, just by feeling the difference between these two shoes, this is a very soft upper with not a lot of support. And I think maybe they were getting some feedback. People's feet were moving around in the shoe just a little too much in the original, and that has been addressed by these overlays here on the heel on the Neo Vista 2. Now, that isn't the only thing they've changed. The upper being a little thicker, a little more rigid, and having different weaves of the knit upper strategically placed on the upper of the shoe are just giving a little more support support around your entire foot. You are definitely going to see the difference here on this toe bumper right here. There is an underlay that is coming around the inside of the toe bumper, and it's just keeping that upper off your foot a lot more so than it did in the first version. The laces and the eyelet chain remains the same. They are kind of sewn into the upper. Works very well. And because I sized down on the Neo Vista 2, I mean, mainly because I had to, but also sizing down made this whole upper fit my foot a lot better. So before, in the original Neo Vista, I was still getting some bunching here in the middle, just where I cinched those eyelet chains closer together. I wasn't getting as much bunching on the Neo Vista 2, and that is for nothing else other than it's more appropriately sized to my foot. With that said, I think the Neo Vista 2 is very well suited for a high volume foot, and I don't think I have a high volume foot, and yet I still experience no issues. But I guess I should say that if you did have a high volume foot, I think your foot would fit very well in the Neo Vista 2. Neo Vista 2 does have a removable insert. I mean, that's it. You can take it out, you can put in another one if you need it. And usually that doesn't mean anything to me, but in this case I did think that, well, you know, if I wanted to put in a thicker insert just to take up some of that volume, that would definitely be an option. So I'm glad that it is removable. Oh, I should say that Mizuno has added this extra eyelet hole, which is usually used in case you need to do the lace lock method, so it kind of locks in your heel a little better. But the shoe came from the factory already laced through that hole, and I didn't change it, I just tied it from there, and it worked perfectly fine. So perhaps that is a reason that I didn't have any heel slip in the Neo Vista 2, but because it comes from the factory like that, it's likely that you are also just going to put the shoe on and go for a run. So if you did experience any heel slip, there's not like that extra hole now to lace it through to see if you can change anything up. Now let's come down to the midsole, because then again, this is another area where Mizuno has made some big changes over the original Neo Vista, even though the overall look is very similar. But with the Neo Vista 2, Mizuno is using a dual density setup, which is very similar to what we're seeing a lot of brands do with their shoes. And we have a softer foam on the top and a slightly, and I mean very slightly, denser foam on the bottom. The confusing thing is that Mizuno has named both foams Enerzy NXT. Now the bottom layer, the slightly denser Enerzy NXT, is the same foam that is found on the original Neo Vista, and the upper foam is a newer Enerzy NXT, and that's a nitrogen infused TPU foam, and that is very soft and very responsive. It's a more premium Enerzy NXT, and I wish the name would reflect that, but for now it is what it is. And now that you know, I guess it doesn't matter what they name it. If you did run in the original Neo Vista, the feel of the shoe underfoot is going to be slightly different. The Neo Vista 2 is much softer than the original Neo Vista, and the original Neo Vista was very soft. But with the Neo Vista 2, we are reaching new heights of softness. So if you like a soft ride, you are really in for a treat with this shoe. Now if we come down to the bottom of the shoe, you are going to see this big cutout right here, and through this cutout you can see Mizuno has included their wave plate. This is a TPU plate, and really it's just going to add a little bit of support for these softer foams that it's splitting. So in this case, the wave plate is going to be adding a little more stability to the shoe, but not in the way that it's a stability shoe, just in the way that it's giving a little support to the softer foams. Like a little structure, you know? I can't actually say that the wave plate gave me that feeling of spring, you know, that you expect to get from a carbon fiber plate. And even though, well, you know what? Now that I'm actually bending it, it's a little more flexible than I thought it was when I tried to bend it off camera. But the Mizuno Neo Vista 2 does not feel stiff in the slightest. So at least for me, this is not a shoe that's going to be giving me plate fatigue. You know, when you run too often in a really stiff shoe, your feet kind of start to ache after running in it too long. That's not the case with the Neo Vista 2. And then back down to the bottom, you can see, well, this is just a very slight difference between the original Neo Vista and the Neo Vista 2, and that Mizuno has added a little crossbar midsole foam right here, and I actually don't know what that's for. Like, if I think about what the designers would have included this for, it's probably something to do with the structure and integrity of the midsole foam, probably just giving a little extra support overall. And then with the outsole rubber, Mizuno is using the same rubber compound. They've just changed the pattern of the outsole rubber slightly, and it's a nice soft rubber compound. I didn't experience any issues with the grip, and I am really a fan of this kind of outsole rubber because it's soft and it's quiet. Now the outsole rubber on this lateral heel edge is a little thicker than everywhere else, mainly because a lot of people touch down here, myself included, and I'm seeing a little bit of grazing, but the rubber is actually holding up quite well. I'm seeing a little bit of rubber degradation right up here in my forefoot, but I've actually been running in these quite a bit, so I'm actually surprised that there's not more wear. They're standing up pretty well. So let's talk about ride. And I've already told you that the shoe is just so soft, which is a really fun experience when you're going out for an easy run, maybe a long run, you just want to protect your whole body. Everything just feels more protected when you're running in a soft platform. There is a limit to that softness. And I actually thought that I found that limit with the Neo Vista 2, because when I was going out for, I don't know, maybe recovery paces where I was really just plodding along, I started to think that maybe the foam was kind of zapping my energy a little more. I'm not sure. I was thinking thinking like maybe I'm getting in my own head, maybe I'm just thinking too much about it. But as the runs went on, I found that I actually preferred running just a little faster in the Neo Vista 2 than I did running really easy. Now, I'm not talking tempo pace, I'm not talking intervals. I'm just talking about this certain segment of my easy runs. So at the slower paces didn't feel as good as the slightly faster paces. Now, the beauty of the Neo Vista 2 is it's very similar to other Mizuno shoes, especially with this Enerzy NXT foam, is that the quicker you turn over your feet, the faster you start to run, that extreme softness of the midsole tends to go away a little bit. Like it changes to adapt to how you're running. So when you do pick up the pace to, I don't know, for me maybe tempo pace, the softness of the Neo Vista 2 was not apparent as it is at easy paces, which is what we want. Like we don't want a super soft platform when we're trying to run fast. So it kind of firms up and feels a lot better. Now, I already said in the beginning, this is probably not going to be a workout type of shoe for me. If I'm going out for a specific tempo run, probably not going to be grabbing the Neo Vista 2, but that's not to say you couldn't. And I think it would actually perform very well for a lot of people. How I'm going to be using the Neo Vista 2 moving forward is going to be for long runs, for those just daily easy runs, because I feel like the shoe just babies me, like wrapping myself in bubble wrap. My body feels protected in the Neo Vista 2. Now, a lot of you are going to ask if you should upgrade to the Neo Vista 2, and I think that's going to come down to how much you like a soft ride. Because if you don't like a soft ride, then the Neo Vista 2 is not for you. Even when you run fast and that softness is not as apparent as it is when you're running slow, it's still a soft ride. And if you like that ground feel, then you are not getting that with the Neo Vista 2. But if you like luxury, if you like that feeling of luxuriating in your run, then the Neo Vista 2 is definitely one that you should take a look at. So now I want to hear from you. Did you run in the original Neo Vista? You're thinking of picking up a pair of the Mizuno Neo Vista 2? Drop a comment and let me know. But for now, it's Matt B. This has been my review of Mizuno's Neo Vista 2. Be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.